Well, we're at the common leading up to Cemetery Woods, or Risdon Woods, or Hospital Woods, whichever one you call it. And we've got Stevie with us today. Although he's got a sore foot, it's a sore between his toes. And it seems a hell of a job trying to clear it up. He's not limping or showing any discomfort, except when he licks it at home. So, how we go about clearing that up, I do not know. The vet says, don't cover it. So, we've got to leave it for the elements to try to help heal it. But he looks okay, and he's pleased to come with us instead of just walking around the block with Vincent. So, let's carry on. Happy old boy he is, still puffing and blowing, and Stevie's even worse. Here comes Stevie. He's got behind a bit, so I have to wait for him, and the others go on in front, but he don't stop when he gets to me. He goes past me and leaves me miles behind the others. And yes, Stevie, wait for me. He's behind again. At least he's upped his pace to catch up. A bit of an old boy. But we're now approaching Hospital Wood and Risdon Wood. They've done a lot of work up here lately, the council workers, coppiced and sent the hall beams into the pollard state. So it's a lot more open. Fortunately, they've left all the mature trees and just mainly dealt with the hornbeam. So there's a fire going on up there at the moment. So let's go and see what's going on. Come along, Stevie. Nice little common, this. What are you whinging at, Jill? Hey? Jill! This wood at one time used to have lots of people walking around with their dogs. But over the years there's been some very funny rumours about ghostly sightings, strange people walking around and nude men. Well, I've stopped being nude as the weather's got colder, so it should be alright, but people still don't come up here for some reason. Only every now and then you see somebody walking their dog. It's a shame really, because it's a lovely old walk round this wood. Isn't it, Joe? I was in this wood about 25 years ago, when I was right up the top where it's a lot more overgrown. I was aware of this little girl following me. She's only about 9, 10, somewhere about that age. And as I carried walking, I kept looking over my shoulder and she was there. So as I stopped, she stopped. And this went all the way through the woods until in the end, I said, so have you lost little girl? And she said, no. Well, I carried on walking, sat by the pond where I normally did, with my can of Coke and my cigarettes when I smoked. But when I turned back, she was not there. And where I was situated, that if anybody had gone past me or even gone out of the woods, I would be able to see them quite clearly. But it weren't till sometime later, I was telling my mate at work, and he suggested I was next door to the crematorium and cemetery. It did make me think, where did this little girl go and what was she doing in this wood all alone on a Saturday afternoon all them years ago? Do I believe in ghosts? Well, sometimes, because when I had the snooker club up the town, I was there playing one night with a Chinaman. We were playing best of fight for 25 quid. And so being the boss, I knew he was in the hall and there's only 2 other people. And I'm concentrating so much on him, knocking in all these balls whether I'm going to get back and save me 25 quid. And somebody pushed past me. So much so, it made me step forward, and for me to utter an expletive under my breath and get down and look underneath the table. There's nobody there. Now, I wasn't imagining it because I was watching Lau knocking up all these points. My mind was totally committed to what he was doing. So there are things about, and it's never really bothered me, but the way he knocked me about, that if he wanted to hurt me, he could quite possibly have hurt me. So these ghosts are not are not easily put off, I should imagine. And as for going through doors and walls, he must have been pretty solid, even though he's invisible. But there we are. In the end, I lost my 25 quid to Lau. But there we are. What was actually strange about this ghostly apparition that bashed into me is that a few days earlier I'd taken on this fella called Paul, and he was one of the group that used to go around investigating these paranormal experiences. You know, they used to go in haunted houses and record things, try and photograph things. And the two brothers that were playing in the hall at the same time, one of them was a clairvoyant. So you don't really know if these people have these things following around with them, you know, and they just happen to bring them up behind them. But it definitely happened, and definitely happened enough to push me forward and make me think clumsy Barland. But there we are. But then again, there's a cemetery just over there, and I used to walk through there at 5 o'clock in the morning and pitch black. Nothing seemed to bother me, and I didn't seem to bother them, fortunately. There you are. I suppose if you're a nervous disposition, you would scare yourself before you actually got there. Fortunately, I'm not really nervous, except about getting married again. Now that really makes me nervous. Come on in, Floyd, Jill. There's a good boy. Well done, Floyd. We're nearly back to the car. Another nice walk, nice weather. Looks like an Indian summer for now, but it won't be long before it's freezing, cold, wet, damp, and I feel miserable every time I walk the old boys round. But then again, it's my life I chose, so there we are. So that's it for now. The end of another silly video.